And Polkadot is a network protocol that allows arbitrary data to be transferred across blockchains. Well, it is just a relay chain. If you want to deploy your own dApps, you have to create a parachain of your own or deploy your dApps on a parachain that has a smart contract. But running a parachain sets the bar high for normal developers. Therefore, it is essential that a developer-friendly smart contract can help a lot for developers and help a lot for the mass adoption of Polkadot protocols. And Gear is an advanced Wasm-based smart contract platform. And it helps developers deploy the dApps very easy and very efficient. So today, it's very happy we can have the founder of Gear to be here today to dive deeper into how they managed to achieve all of that. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
First of all, could you briefly introduce yourself and Gear?
Yeah, hello, everybody. I'm Nikolay Volf, CEO of and founder of Gear Technology. Previously, myself, I have an engineering background. Previously, I was working in Pi Technologies, like since the company started. So I was kind of group of original engineers in Pi. With Pi build a lot of stuff, and the most important thing probably, what is now known as Substrate and Polkadot. Yeah, as I already said, I have an engineering background. I love programming. I'm programming basically the whole my life since I was a kid. So it's like 30 years now. And then in Gear, really try to kind of take the most recent advancements in smart contract technology of how actually a user application should be run, and we base design of our protocol on most recent advancements in smart contract technology. So there are a few things on this I can talk about in details. There are some design decisions in our protocol that helps to be a modern, fast, parallelizable, and easy to develop platform.
Yes. And could you detail us like what promotes you to start the project? What is the future you envision for Gear?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I was working in Pi Technologies, so I kind of have a good understanding of underlying technology, of what Substrate is capable of. Yeah, Polkadot ecosystem is amazing and is very complex. And we just add like a fast track to this entire ecosystem where you really need very little resources, both on time side and on the financial side, where you just spend a few minutes to launch your application and spend very little on some tokens to power up your application. And yeah, we think this was lacking on Polkadot, and that's why we started this project.
How do you envision the future of Gear and like what the role it plays in Polkadot?
So the future of Gear is to be kind of entry point inside the whole ecosystem. So Gear will have an utility of layer 1 blockchains, but it also on top of that, it will also kind of give access to everything that Polkadot has. So you, for example, have your typical layer 1 blockchain like Neo, Solana, like modern performant Wasm-based blockchains. But you also have everything that Polkadot has. In Gear, the future of Gear is we first deploy on Kusama and Polkadot, and then we kind of try to scale, because Gear is really agnostic to how much parachain slots it occupies. So we first probably deploy on 2 parachain slots and interconnect them from the day one. And then we kind of, depending on how much users get attracted to Gear and the Polkadot as a whole, then we kind of increase the number of slots we occupy, because we can operate on any number of slots without kind of losing any utility. We also will try to establish as much connections to other parachain and the bridges when they will emerge, so that any user of Gear can interact with any parachain, with any bridge, like they interact with any other smart contract inside the Gear platform.
Yeah, interesting. And the Gear is essentially a blockchain as a service, allows inexperienced developers to access to the industry without having to be equipped with advanced knowledge. Developers can easily and effortlessly launch their own dApps and make a future inroad into the Polkadot ecosystem. Could you detail us like how to achieve that?
One of the advantages of our kind of design is that it is very easy to develop. That first we have this actor model for communications, where all programs not just read state or write state of other programs, but rather they exchange messages. This, first of all, is very kind of compatible with the Polkadot itself, where it also kind of routes messages between chains and bridges. Second, you just don't really need much more than some handling messaging and sending messages. The second kind of design characteristic of our protocol is a so-called orthogonal persistence, where you don't really need any read from state, write from state inside your own program as well. You just write a regular program, and Gear makes sure it is always in actual state. It just uses some virtual memory techniques to kind of make sure that if you modify some part of the memory inside your program, then it gets persisted in a transparent way. And what it gives, you just take any program, already existing one, and you just don't care if it will run on blockchain. You just push it in blockchain. It just works.
Yeah, amazing. The major engine of the GEAR network is the smart contract module. When it comes to smart contract, the first thing that comes to mind is Ethereum. So what is the difference between GEAR's smart contract platform and Ethereum's?
Yeah, so Ethereum uses Ethereum virtual machine. I think if Ethereum will happen now, it will use WebAssembly virtual machine if it were existed. So WebAssembly virtual machine is basically much kind of modern, and it much more close to real hardware. So it's just more effective, and WebAssembly is also running at native speed. So it's just more effective choice of what would you use as a virtual machine to run user code. Yeah, so I think WebAssembly is many times faster than Ethereum, and when you kind of see what makes transactions cheap or expensive, it's really the speed of at what validators or miners in case of Ethereum are able to process user transactions, and the more speed you have, the cheaper the transaction. So Ethereum virtual machine is just inferior in terms of speed, and thus the transactions cost on Ethereum are very high. And also the design of Ethereum virtual machine and like its state transition is also made in such way that it can only be run on one processor core. It's not kind of parallelizable, so you cannot kind of keep up with improving hardware. As we all know, that now computer hardware can't even scale on CPU speed. It should scale with a number of CPU cores instead. So any future-proof solution should be able to run on multiple cores, so it should be parallelizable. Yeah, and it's actually at this point, as far as I'm aware, it's even like a physical limit of how big your processor can be, and there's no way the processors will get scaled other than the number of CPU cores they have, and any future-proof solution should be able to utilize that.
Gear uses Wasm, which is a game-changing tech that allows developers to build dApps specially tailored for web to run at a near native speed. What's more, it is already in all modern web browsers, but crypto developers are still more inclined to EVM-based development, and almost all chains are EVM compatible. Why is that?
Yeah, but it's mostly legacy. I'll also argue that not all chains, I mean, use EVM now. For example, Solana near they don't use EVM. They have like some compatibility layer with the EVM, and Polkadot has Moonbeam. So I believe this thing is covered. Why? It's just because there are a lot of solutions already out there, and when you have EVM compatibility layer, then you can just take the solutions and run on your own chain, and you're good to go with your effort. So that's why if you kind of see big picture, for example, like how much really crypto developers out there, it's like it's just several thousands of them. And if you see how much developers out there outside of Web3, there are millions of them. So we believe that most crypto developers, most Web3 developers are yet to come into the industry. So betting on some legacy software is just a dead end, I believe, because still much of the industry is not even kind of in numbers. So yeah, we better use and invent new technologies than to kind of make compatibilities for all, compatibility layers for old ones.
Yeah, more developers is yet to come. Will JIR consider to be EVM compatible in the future? After all, it's the largest ecosystem so far, anyhow.
No. As I said, Polkadot has a compatibility layer with Ethereum. It's called Moonbeam or Moonriver on Kusama. So this is pretty much covered. Astar also has a compatibility layer. Well, we could have, after all, this compatibility layer frontier is actually developed by Parity, not by Moonbeam or Astar. Anybody can just, add this palette to their parachain, but we won't bother because, as I already said, it's already covered by the guys. And second, our gear protocol is really not very compatible with UIM much more than Astar or Astar protocol, because gear really operates on with different design decisions under the hood.
The way that programs, or in this case, smart contract communication, is very important because it's a factor that contributes to the overall effectiveness of the program. In that case of JIR, the inter-progress communication adopts the actor module approach. What is actor module? How does it work? And most importantly, why does JIR use it?
So actor model is quite old field of computer science, and it's well known that it is much more effective when you need to kind of parallelize computations, what we talked about earlier. So it's well known that it works better for systems that need to do a parallelizable computations, but it's also good when you want to have a kind of shardable design where not all network participants keep all the state, so you kind of have the state partitioned or sharded across the network. And also actor model is much more kind of compatible with Polkadot itself, where you can really think of Polkadot relay chain and when handling interchain communications is also sort of actor model. It's just not as full actor model as we have in Gear protocol. For example, in Gear you can create actors dynamically. You can kind of wait on messages for replies from different actors, like many actors simultaneously. Like some cool sound features of actor protocol that is part of like a well-established actor model for communication design that gets support fully.
Could you share the long-term roadmap and upcoming updates with our audience, in particular in terms of development and market?
Yes, so now we have our protocol feature complete. Now it's get audited by like a famous cybersecurity firm. And once it's done, we will deploy our protocol in several scenarios. First of all, there will be a standalone network that utilizes our protocol. So this will be initially kind of a test network where we kind of push our performance to the limits, make important optimizations, while also looking that everything works fine, that everything's stable, that economy is okay, that we can upgrade network, like doing all the good stuff, and make sure that everything works. And once it's done, once we kind of have our performance goals achieved, we deploy the same protocol with some correction or something like that. As a Kusama parachain, initially, as I mentioned before, probably as two parachain slots at once, two interconnected slots with each other. Then we will probably make a lot of connections to other parachains and to see how they work well with the Gear protocol itself. And once it's also established and tested on Kusama, then we go on Polkadot with all of that and deploy there also as a several parachain slots. And then we'll see how much utility, how much traction we get in terms of new applications, new users and such, and probably will scale to more per-chain slots. And yeah, certain times ahead.
In the end, is there anything you would like to remark, like to add regarding Gear, regarding Polkadot, or everything?
Yeah, I think Polkadot ecosystem is one of the it's well known that it's I think second largest ecosystem in the world in terms of developers. And yeah, we just add more tools to that ecosystem, and really want everybody to try out. Well, we have a test network that is stable for 7 months already or something. So it is like despite its test network, it was stable for that long. We will do regular updates there, regular upgrades. You can follow our Twitter to kind of to see how gear improves over time. You can look it yourself, but how easy to develop on Gear. So everybody is welcome to follow our progress, and we're just kind of group of engineers to make new ways of programming on Web3 possible.
Since we still have time because we finished our above question very quickly, do you mind if I add 1 or 2 questions?
Sure.
Okay. Because for the layer 1 smart contract platform, the developers are the most important part. How to attract the developers and better than other chains is very, very important. So what's your plans towards to it?
The base of our plan is first of all make it super easy to develop. Like you can just come to the live network and you can just start deploying and developing like in minutes. This is one of the kind of part of the plan. The way you program must also kind of resemble your previous experience. That's kind of second plan. So in Gear, you don't need to kind of wrap your heads around some alien concept. You just write regular programs that handle messages and send messages. It's just it. There is nothing more to it. And third one, as I already kind of mentioned, most of people that are not in Web3 are yet to come to Web3. So we really should see what, for example, like there are a lot of people developing cloud services, and many of those services actually would, especially like critical services, which handles, for example, I don't know, like self-driving cars, which is very critical. They stay always online. And Gear in test network is 100% online since launch, and the production network you can go more than 100%, but it will still be super. It will be a network with a super availability that will never stops, and you can really censor it. So it will be a good candidate for some of the internet infrastructure that is very critical. So I expect some of those critical services to be deployed on Gear and become a part of kind of Web3. So that, and yeah, we also need to kind of, for example, we in Gear do a lot of workshops in universities among the people who are not really crypto developers or something. We rarely go on crypto conferences. We really engage in these crypto events. We kind of try to reach people that are outside of crypto and to show them that it's very easy. You just have a more you just have a platform that is, for some cases, is more convenient than even a traditional infrastructure like cloud providers or something like that.
From my acknowledgement, that I noticed that there was a project launching the Wasm smart contract platform, but they end up failed. So what do you think is the hurdles that for you to push up the Wasm smart contract? Because even though it is really, really good, but in Polkadot ecosystem, already somebody tried. And the fact is that that not that much people are willing to join. What do you think the reason is the hurdle? It's because the Polkadot is still in the early stage, or what's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, Polkadot is just beginning to unlock its kind of full utility. With those like interchain messages, inter-breach messages, how are they called? So it's just the beginning of the story, I believe. Yeah, industry itself is quite small. There are not much crypto developers out there, and if you choose to kind of attract crypto developers from other projects, there are still not much of them. Even in other projects, for example, there are not much projects on Solana, there are not much projects on Near, and you really don't want to cannibalize on those and to attract those, because even if you attract them, it will be like far from full potential of what crypto can be, what Web3 can be, Web3 can be.
Okay. Thank you so much. Within the limited time, we have covered so much, giving our audience a general idea about Geo network, its key technology, and the unique approach for smart contract via Wasm. It's so amazing, and we believe it definitely will turn the tide. Let's stay tuned to Geo and help it reach to more people. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.